You know, there's a very specific, almost jarring kind of betrayal that can happen when you pick up a piece of art. You're expecting pure escapism, and instead you get a mirror held up to the darkest parts of reality. Imagine for a second, you grab a new album, the cover art is incredible, it's got this whole noir comic book thing going on, maybe some purple neon.
Yeah, you know the vibe.
You put it on, and you are fully expecting a fun concept album about, like, a Marvel superhero. You're ready for the tropes, right? Punching bad guys, saving the city, flying off into the sunset.
A standard power fantasy. We all know it. We all love it.
Precisely. But then you start listening to the lyrics. I mean, really listening. And you realize you've been tricked. But the trick isn't a joke. It's a trap door.
And you fall right through it.
Right through it into something much, much more real.
It's a bait and switch, but a really necessary one. You think you're getting a story about a fictional detective with superpowers, but what you're actually getting is this visceral, almost uncomfortable sonic map of surviving sex trafficking and coercive control.
And that is the journey we are going on today. We are doing a deep dive into the EP Alias investigations by the artist Ti-Fi. Now, on the surface, for the geeks among us, and I definitely count myself in that number, this whole project traces the narrative arc of the Marvel character Jessica Jones.
Specifically, the 2001 Alias comic run, which is a classic.
A total classic. But as we went through the stack of notes, the lyrics, and the artist's own writer's room commentary, it became so clear this is about something much heavier than comic books.
It creates what the artist calls a dual narrative. And that's really the mission for today's dive. We have to decode that duality.
Okay, so layer one is the surface.
A superhero in Hell's Kitchen fighting a mind-controlling villain. Layer two, though, that's the reality. A person entering the sex industry, falling under the control of an exploiter, and eventually finding what Ti-Fi calls an alchemical exit.
Alchemical exit. That phrase just jumped out at me immediately when I was reading the liner notes.
It's powerful, isn't it?
The idea of transmuting trauma into agency. And you're going to spend some time unpacking that later because it's just a profound concept.
It really is. And look, if you love decoding hidden meanings or trying to understand the psychology of how art processes trauma, this is the deep dive for you. Because frankly, the brilliance here isn't in the superhero references. It's in how those references are used to explain things that are usually just too painful to talk about directly.
So let's start where the album starts. The sources call this the honeymoon phase.
Right.
And the album opens with a track called Golden Savior. Now, if you went in blind listening to just the melody, you'd think this was like a pop anthem. It's upbeat, it's major key, it feels triumphant.
That's the Jewel persona.
Yeah.
For those who aren't familiar with the comics, before Jessica Jones was this gritty leather jacket-wearing detective, she was a pretty generic superhero named Jewel. Pink hair, white costume, very bright.
And the lyrics here are incredibly bouncy. I wake up early and I greet the sun. The battle is won before it's even begun. It's catchy. You want to root for her.
You do. But the artist's notes frame this in a really disturbing light. This isn't just about being a rookie hero. This represents the entry point into exploitation.
It's seduction.
It's total seduction.
Yeah.
There's this massive misconception that entry into sex work or exploitative situations is always violent right from the start. You know, the whole Taken narrative, kicking and screaming into a van.
Right.
But Ti-Fi points out that often, especially in the beginning, it feels like empowerment. It can even feel like a choice. It's the lover boy method, essentially. Love bombing, validation, making the person feel powerful and special. It's dangerous because it disarms all your instincts.
And there's a line in the song that captures this perfectly, and once you hear it in this context, it's chilling. The line is, trading my youth for a cape made of gold.
That metaphor is so crucial. Let's break that down. The cape made of gold is the money, the sudden validation, the lifestyle. It's the rush.
Yeah.
The protagonist feels invincible because, for a moment, the world is shiny and pristine. They feel like they've ascended.
The world used to be shiny. That line hits so hard when you look back at it from the end of the album. It's that specific naivety of thinking you can control a situation that is fundamentally designed to control you.
You think you're wearing the cape, but really the cape is wearing you. The artist notes that Jewel is flying around waiting for a superhero tune, completely unaware that a monster is waiting in a restaurant booth.
It's that tragedy of youth, that belief that you are the exception to the rule. There's that lyric, I'm the diamond that cannot break.
Which is just the darkest irony. Because diamonds absolutely do break.
If you apply the right amount of pressure, and the transition to the next segment of the album just shatters that golden savior illusion completely.
The music just stops being fun. The production gets darker, slower, and we get introduced to the villain.
In the comics, he's Zebediah Kilgrave, the Purple Man. His power is that he can control minds just by speaking. He tells you to stop breathing, you start breathing.
Horrifying. But this is where the allegory becomes terrifyingly real. In the album's world, the Purple Man isn't some supervillain with magic powers. He represents a pimp, a trafficker, or a deeply abusive partner.
And the material focuses on 2 tracks here. Purple Man and 8 Months. I was reading the lyrics for Purple Man, and they focus so much on the lack of physical force. He didn't use a weapon, didn't need a knife. He just spoke a word and he took the life. It emphasizes how simple it is. It's almost quiet.
That's the textbook definition of coercive control. It's a concept from criminology, from psychology. It's this pattern of behavior designed to make a person dependent by isolating them, regulating their everyday behavior, and just stripping away their agency.
It's not about bruises.
Not at all. It's about the erosion of the self.
It's interesting you bring up the everyday behavior part because the song 8 Months addresses the listener who might ask, why didn't you just run? Why did you stay?
And the lyrics answer it directly.
They do. He didn't use a chain, didn't use a cage. He just spoke a sentence and he set the stage.
It's psychological imprisonment. The sources talk about this concept of a phantom touch. Even when the abuser isn't in the room, she feels him. She anticipates his wants. Her brain has been rewired to prioritize his needs over her own survival.
There's a line in that track that really stuck with me. I think it's the heaviest line on the whole record. I was the bullet, but he was the gun. That is... wow. Help us unpack that.
It's such a profound description of the loss of moral agency. Think about it. When an abuser forces a victim to do things, sexual exploitation, cutting off their family, whatever it is, the victim feels like they are the one doing the damage. I was the bullet. I made impact. I caused the pain.
But the abuser stays clean.
Exactly. They're just the gun. They pull the trigger, but their hands don't touch the target. It destroys the victim's sense of self because now they feel complicit in their own abuse. They feel guilty. The artist calls the victim a prisoner of war in the chapel of his mind.
That's such a heavy image. It's not just a locked room. It's being locked inside your own head. The chapel, your soul, has been desecrated.
You can't even pray in your own mind without him hearing it, which is why the escape, when it finally comes, is so messy.
Right. It's not clean.
A typical superhero story, the hero breaks free, punches the bad guy, the police show up, everyone cheers.
Cue the John Williams music. Roll credits.
Exactly. But here,
Okay.
we get the track Punching Up, and it is just chaotic.
Yeah, reading the summary of Punching Up, it sounds like a complete disaster. In the comic story, she tries to kill her captor, but because of the mind control, the purple haze, she attacks the Avengers instead.
She goes after the good guys. And Ti-Fi explains this as the allegory of punching up in a social sense. It represents a victim trying to exit the life, but instead of finding safety, they just collide with the system.
The system being police, institutions, decent society.
All of it. She's lashing out, trying to fight her way to freedom, but she's viewed as a threat. She's confused, she's traumatized, she might be aggressive because that's what she had to be to survive.
So instead of being saved, she gets taken down. The lyrics say, I punched above my weight class, I took a swing at the gods. She's just alienating the people who are supposed to help.
And that leads to the aftermath, which might be the bleakest part of this whole deep dive. The track room full of heroes. She wakes up in a hospital, surrounded by Iron Man, Captain America, the icons of justice.
But they're not giving her a medal. They're not offering her a spot on the team. The lyrics are brutal. They look at me with pity. They look at me with fear. But they don't know the monster that brought me here.
This is the sting of institutional betrayal.
Yeah.
The good guys, they look at the survivor and they don't see a hero, they see a mess. They see a grenade, as the song puts it. Someone too damaged to be accepted.
I'm not the golden savior. I'm the grenade. That is such a heavy realization. It's the death of that jewel persona.
It is. She realizes the shiny world doesn't want her anymore. And she's dangerous, unstable. So this is where the intervention happens. The sources mention a telepath with the mane of red hair.
Jean Grey from the comics.
Jean Grey, right. She comes in not to fight the bad guy, but to build a partition wall in the protagonist's mind.
A psychic block.
Exactly. And while that sounds like sci-fi, the artist frames it as the necessary psychological compartmentalization a survivor has to do. You have to lock the trauma away just to function. You literally have to thank you for the wall because it's the only thing keeping you from falling apart. It's dissociation as a survival tool.
So Jewel is shattered, the costume's torn, the Avengers don't want her, she's got this wall in her head holding back the nightmares. But this isn't the end. This is where the whole story pivots.
The alchemical exit.
Yes, we move from Jewel to Alias. The track Alias Investigations completely changes the vibe. We're not in the sky anymore. We're in a cheap office with bad pipes and a bottle of whiskey.
It's a total shift in identity. The artist describes the new persona. Leather jacket, cynical, transactional. The lyric is, "I'll take the case if the cash is green." It sounds harsh, but it's really about survival.
It's about shedding the need to be a hero in that traditional sense. She's done trying to please the shiny world.
Exactly. And here is the core of the alchemical exit. Alchemy is the ancient process of turning base metals into gold. Here, the survivor takes the base metal of her trauma, the street smarts she was forced to learn, the hypervigilance, the ability to read people's darkness.
And turns that into a professional skill set. I love that framing. So instead of being a victim haunted by the darkness, she becomes an investigator who specializes in it.
She uses the darkness she knows to navigate the world. She converts her hypervigilance, which is a symptom of PTSD, into being a great detective. She notices things other people miss because she had to notice them to survive.
It's reclaiming the tools of her oppression.
And using them for her own agency.
But, and this is critical, and I'm so glad the source material emphasizes it, Ti-Fi is careful not to make this a fairy tale. Recovery is not a straight line. There's a track called I Still Flinch. It acknowledges that you don't just get over PTSD because you opened a detective agency.
That track really stood out to me. The imagery is so claustrophobic. I live inside a room behind my eyes, watching through a window made of glass and lies. And the chorus, I'm reclaiming the space inch by inch, but I still flinch.
But I still flinch. That honesty is so refreshing.
It validates the biological reality of trauma, the hijacking of the brain, the amygdala response. It persists long after the threat is gone. You can be functional, you can be tough, you can be alias, but the body remembers. It's a very grounded, realistic take on recovery.
It's not about being fixed.
No, it's about continuing to move forward despite the damage.
And then we get the payoff. The final track we have notes on is Case #529, Teacher's Turn to Learn.
This is where the narrative arc resolves. The protagonist confronts a predator. But notice the shift. This isn't a supervillain in a costume. It's a teacher, a mentor.
Someone in the community. The lyrics describe him as predator preaching to the prey. This character is using authority and trust to abuse people, and our protagonist, Alias, walks in.
And this is the ultimate fantasy the album offers. The survivor uses her specific knowledge of abuse dynamics to take the predator down, not with laser beams or super strength, with grit and evidence. She uses the skills she forged in the fire.
There's that killer line that just makes you want to cheer. You trade on the trust that you didn't earn. Well, now it's the teacher's turn to learn.
It's a total power reversal, isn't it? The victim has become the expert. She looks at the abuser and says, I know exactly what you were doing because I survived it. I know the tricks, I know the words, and I'm going to stop you.
I'm the storm in the path of your wake. It's such a powerful image of reclaiming that power. It's like she's saying, I'm not the innocent Jewel anymore. I'm something more dangerous to you. I'm the one who knows your secrets.
And that connects back to the core mission here. Why use superheroes to tell this story? Why not just write a memoir? Why drag Marvel into it?
Ti-Fi had a great note on this in the commentary. The reality of trafficking and abuse is jagged. It's too sharp to hold directly sometimes.
If you sit someone down and try to explain the intricacies of coercive control or the sociology of sex trafficking, they might just tune out. It's too heavy.
It feels like homework, or it just feels too bleak to engage with. It triggers that defense mechanism where we want to look away.
Exactly. But if you wrap it in the story of a woman who can stop a car with her bare hands, who overcomes mind control to become a hard-drinking PI, well, suddenly we can process those hard truths.
The superpowers act as a buffer. It's using fiction as a vessel.
Yes. We come for the Marvel references, but we stay for the lesson in agency. And that's what this alchemical exit really is. It's burning down the fantasy of the golden savior. The idea that if you're just good enough, if you smile enough, nothing bad will happen to you.
It's accepting the world is dangerous.
But realizing you're the tools to navigate it. You trade the cape for the leather jacket, and you get to work.
I'm done with the glory, and I'm done with the fame. She's just effective now. She's real.
And in many ways, that's more heroic than the flying superhero we started with. Real agency is harder than superpowers.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? We've walked through the journey from the shiny, naive beginning to the gritty, empowered end. We've seen how Jewel had to die so that Alias could live.
I think the provocative thought here is about our consumption of stories. We love these dark, gritty reboots of characters, the tortured hero trope. We love the aesthetic of damage. But are we really listening to the underlying message?
Right. When you watch that show or listen to that album, ask yourself, what real world trauma is being transmuted here? Are we just being entertained by the purple haze, or are we seeing the person fighting for their life underneath it?
Because stories like Alias Investigations remind us that the most important battles aren't fought in the sky against aliens. They're fought in quiet rooms, reclaiming your own mind inch by inch.
A reminder that you can burn your old life down and still build something new from the ashes. It might not be shiny, but it's yours. Welcome to the agency, as the liner notes say. Thanks for exploring this with us.
It's been a privilege.
See you on the next deep dive.